Are you making these storytelling mistakes without even realizing it? Whether you are a seasoned speaker or you're a passionate newcomer, small storytelling errors can significantly impact your connection with your audience. Today, we are going to be talking about the common storytelling mistakes and how to avoid them. Welcome back, Suzanne, to what are we calling these? Our fireside chats.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep, as we prepare for our upcoming Unleash the Power of Your Story, this has got to be one of my favorite topics. But before we jump in, how are you doing today?
I am well. I am well. I'm excited for this coming event, and of course, storytelling is just something I love to teach. I love to do. I just think it's transformative in so many ways. So I'm ready.
Amazing. And yes, I too am getting very excited. I have the privilege to take a look at all of the stuff that is happening on the back end and everything. So I am super proud to say that we're seeing the registration rolling in. And so we are gearing up for our Unleash the Power of Your Story Masterclass. So before we go ahead and get this party bus started, I just want to take a minute to welcome everyone for joining us here today for our live session. And as you join us, make sure you put in the comment section where you are watching from because we love to know where our super achievers are hailing. So make sure you put your city and your state or your country where you are hailing from. And then also let us know who you serve in your business and how you serve in your business because it's very important for us to know just exactly what you do, who we have the opportunity to connect with, and then learn a little bit more about you so we can know how to serve you better. And then also, I want to take a minute to welcome all of our newbies in our Storytelling for Super Achievers community. Welcome, 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 guys. You guys are showing up. You're popping in every day. It makes my heart happy to know that we are positioning to be able to serve as many people as we are serving today. And the last thing that I'm going to ask everyone to do, if you came across this live, whether it's in our community or you saw it, throughout Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you're watching from, and the topic kind of interests you, and you know of another super achiever who could benefit from the conversation, take a minute to just go ahead, tag them, or share the video later with them so they could be a part and be blessed by the conversation. So without any further ado, Suzanne, let's talk about it. What are some of the common mistakes that a lot of people make with storytelling and speaking?
I think the most common mistake, and I know I kind of made it when I first started speaking, was confusing your story with your bio.
That was going to be the number one for me.
Right. And you'll watch people take the stage and they'll think they're telling their story. And in many ways they are. They're telling the story of their journey to success. And they're often talking about their, how they got to where they are, their education, their experience, their successes, their accolades. And while that is great, what I have learned is to let the person who introduced you do that lifting. Because the story that you really want to tell is the story that the audience can relate to. And this is what I want everyone to get. Particularly if you're super, super successful, you've already arrived. When you do that, yes, the audience is in awe of you, but they're actually getting further and further away from you. And what I mean by that is you're putting distance between where they are and where you've arrived. The story that you really want to tell is a story of a journey that they can relate to. Because we all know when we start, we fail. When we start, we struggle. When we start, we have moments of my friend calls it wall kicking moments, where you want to kick the wall, cry, shout, scream, pull your hair out. We have moments of doubt. And what most people want to do is they want to come to the stage, come to an event in all their perfection. And it
Mhm.
doesn't make them closer with the audience, it actually makes distance. So if you want to create a closer level of connection, is you want to take them on a journey where they can see themselves. So that's the first thing. Big mistake that people make is they think that the story they're supposed to tell is their success story. And we say the story you want to tell is your mess story, the messy moments in your journey.
Yeah, and I know for one, it's very interesting and challenging because I know I have had the opportunity to sit in plenty of audiences, and I've heard speakers tell their success and glory story. And the thing that's running through my mind at the moment as I listen to them, I was like, that's great for them, and I'm happy for them. But you know what? That can't be me. So
Right.
you're absolutely correct is that they miss the opportunity to build that bridge of connection by just showing up. Like I couldn't see myself like in the successes because I'm not there yet. So I'm just like, yeah, great for you. It worked for you, but I seriously doubt that that's gonna work for me because I have all the scenarios of what the things that I'm doing wrong and the things that I think that I'm lacking that I don't have, and that's the narrative that ran in my mind when I hear that. And so, mhm. and so go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say absolutely, and in a transformation model, they say that we have a great idea, right? Ooh, I'm going to do this thing, and then we go on a journey and we hit this place called deception. And deception is where what you thought of doing ends up being harder than what you're experiencing, and you feel deceived. You feel like your idea isn't very good. You feel like you don't have the skills. Well, when you're in deception and someone is standing on stage going, wow, I just sailed through this. I am doing all these amazing things. Well, when you're in deception, the distance feels so far that you sit there and you go, that's not possible for me because I don't have the skills. I'm failing where I'm at. When a speaker is able to say, oh, let me tell you my experience of deception, and they won't say that, but my experience of failure, challenge, wall kicking moments, then you go, it's almost like they come down in the valley of deception with you. And you go, oh, you know what it's like to be down here. Then the story has meaning as you take them on the journey of lessons learned, transformation, and out of the valley. And they're like, take me with you. Show me how to get there too. That's what we're talking about. So it's
Absolutely
a
love it. I
different.
call that the Me Too effect. So when you could actually get your audience to say "Me Too" when you share your story, then you know you definitely hit the mark.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I I would say that another common mistake is I think leaving your audience in the what I call the bottom of the dip.
Oh,
Now,
man, you're taking all of my ideas.
so so one of the great things, and if you're a speaker, you most speakers have been trained on the dip. You take the audience on this journey and you get to what I like to call rock bottom. Well,
Yeah.
what often happens is people take the audience on a journey, and the dip has so many juicy details. It has so much pain and ups and downs and so on and so forth that often the speaker will get caught there, particularly a new speaker, and they won't take the audience out of the dip and say, this is what I learned and this is how I arrived to where I am. What occurs when you take someone into the dip and you don't take them out is two things. One, they might end up feeling sorry for you. And I've had that experience where I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so bad for you. Two is I won't follow you because if you can't show me you knew how to get out of it, and I don't care how good you're doing right now, if you can't show me the way out of that dip, I'm like, hmm, I may not follow you because it doesn't build confidence. You're not really edifying yourself in terms of these are the lessons I gained on the journey. And if I'm in the same dip and you talk about it, but you don't take me out, you haven't given me anything other than doom and gloom.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think the other thing is when people take you on a messy journey and they leave you smack dab in the mess in their story, and you're just like, so what happened? Did you get out? I'm sitting there too. Help me out. That is the other thing that's often done when people tell their story.
It's so funny because I'll share just a brief story. I remember one time I was actually at an event and I was speaking. This person wasn't on stage. We were actually having a one-on-one conversation. And like you said, the details of the story that the person was sharing, their experiences, I was really enrolled in it. And she was crying and I was crying. And the thing that was interesting about it, and of course, I did not know that back then, one of my mentors, he just came up right behind me and he just whispered in my ear, he's like, she's not going to be able to sell anything. And of course, I did not know at the time what he meant. But what he was speaking of is exactly what you just shared. And so, what we did was we had a really good emotional tug at your heart conversation. And then she's telling her story, and I'm crying for her because she's crying and it's still moving. And at the end of the day, I didn't even buy a book. I was just like, oh my gosh. And so, it wasn't until working with you, I'm just like, oh, that's what happened. She
Yeah,
left right in the dip and she did not know how to bring me out
yeah,
of the dip.
that's right. You make them cry, but they didn't buy, right? They didn't
Oh,
buy.
I love
They
that.
didn't,
You make them
they
cry,
didn't
but
buy.
they didn't
They
buy.
didn't buy like, can I have your contact? Can I follow you? They were just, man, that was a great story. I felt so, oh man, I was so
Yeah.
moved. However, it didn't inspire action. And that's really what we want to think about is the story needs to inspire a desire to move, a desire to act, right? So that is another common one. Um, One of the common mistakes that uh, speakers make is they tell a story that has no relevance. And sometimes, we're joyful on stage, we're having a good time, and a story pops into our head, and it may sound good, and it may actually engage the audience and get the audience talking and laughing. However, what it's doing is it's taking the audience off point and away from the important information and the journey you want to take them on. So when I was taught storytelling, I was taught nothing. Well, when I was taught to speak, I was taught that everything you say is moving the audience in a direction to a particular outcome, a particular place you want them to end up. And no other information is brought into that conversation.
Mm,
And so remember, we're not comedians,
right.
although we can be funny. We are moving an audience to a place. So I think one of the other common things is speakers get off track with their stories. They put in too much details. They make their story too long. They put in added information that convolutes the story. And at the end of it, the people were like, that was great, but what was I supposed to get? So it really is when you're talking about storytelling, it is concise, tight, punchy, and every bit of content has purpose.
And it's so true. And as you were speaking, another mistake that it is common that comes to mind that I would love for you to touch on is I remember also having the opportunity to speak to another speaker trainer. And one of the questions that I asked was, how do I know if I'm ready to share a story or tell my story? And one of the things that he said to me was, you have to be healed from the story. You have to be healed from the experience before you share the story. Now, I'm going to tell you, Suzanne, that statement right there left your girl in total confusion, pushed me back probably another 5 years because I was just like, wait a minute, what do I have to do? Do I have to go to therapy? Do I have to get a psychiatrist, lay on the couch, put my feet up, and talk about it? Like, what's needed here? And so, once again, it wasn't until I started to work with you, I understood the power of it. And it's like when you tell the story, of course, you have the depth of the story, but talk about the lessons. What did you learn coming through the story? And so it's always like having, never tell a story unless you're able to make, the points. Like if you can't make the points, you can't make it match up, then you probably shouldn't be telling the story.
Well, I think the other thing, and we see this happen in class, often is when someone chooses a story, and if they're not healed, you can tell instantly. As
Right.
soon as they open your mouth, you can tell they have not healed from the story. And this is the clue. All stories have the victim, the
Mhm.
hero, and eventually the guide. There's a pattern. And when someone hasn't healed from their story, they never become the hero in their own life.
Mhm.
They are the victim. And so when they tell the story, they tell it from the perspective of the victim. Now, we all start telling the story from the perspective of the victim, but when the transformation happens, we stand up and we choose to be the hero. When someone hasn't healed, they don't stand up and be the hero, they finger point and
Mm.
blame. And
Yeah.
the story is not just their story, it's the story of who wronged them, why it happened, all these different things. And now you're going, oh, well, what's wrong with that story is that because they never stood up and learned a lesson, because they never looked empowered and had a transformation, because they don't have lessons that they can now teach you, they've never become the guide. We never hire the victim, nor do we hire the hero because we want to be the hero. We are
Right.
looking for a competent guide.
Yeah.
And so when you tell your story, you have to say, I started in the seat of the victim. I had an aha moment, an epiphany that had me stand up and realize I'm responsible for creating my own destiny. I became the hero. I put on my own super cape. I addressed stuff. And then I learned these lessons. Now I'm here to guide you and
Right.
teach you the lessons. That's the process. If you sit in the seat of the victim, what you will attract are all the people who want to get in the valley with you, have wine, and talk about their woes. That's not the client most of us are looking for. And that's not a client who's going to buy or look for
Right.
transformation.
Right. And the reason why we're talking about this is because that one point there encompasses all. Because how many times do we find ourselves in our businesses when we actually say we don't have the right type of client, or this person, is not a right fit for my business. So sometimes we don't even realize by our words and how we communicate who we attract to our business, and this is why it's so important. And I love that
Mhm.
you said we want to be able to attract the people who are ready to stop seeing themselves as victims and are looking for the steps for the transformation to move them. And so,
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're looking for the people who are tired of being sick and tired. And they're like, I'm ready. I'm ready for action. Like you needed to show up yesterday. That's how ready I am.
yeah, absolutely. All right. And so for our super achievers, if you guys are out there and this conversation, has touched you, it's moved you, it has impacted you in any which way, and you are ready to transform your speaking and storytelling, this is your time to join us on our Unleash the Power of Your Story live masterclass. Now, did I say that this is a live masterclass? It's a live masterclass. It's not an automated masterclass. It's a live masterclass where you have the opportunity, to ask Suzanne questions, bring your concerns, bring your challenges around speaking and storytelling. And we're hosting our masterclass on Thursday, May the 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we've made it super easy if you have not yet secured your spot. And so the first place that you could look, you can go ahead and look in the description of the video, click on the link and secure your seat. We would love to have you there. And then it's also going across the screen on the ticker as well. Once again, it's btpmasterclasslive.com. And even if you have registered, and like we mentioned before, if you know another super achiever or you know my magic number is five, she's saying, I tell people all the time, if this interests you, I guarantee you, you know five other people who have the same questions that are looking for the same answers that you are.
Mhm.
Don't be stingy. Go ahead and share the link out with other fellow super achievers. And so, with that being said, Suzanne, I'm going to let you go ahead and wrap this fireside chat up today.
All right. Well, I'm going to say to you that if you are a speaker, a trainer, a coach, and anyone who is in touch with the public, and you want to be able to move people, you want to be able to inspire people, nothing does that better than a great story. If you're going to tell stories, you want to definitely be able to tell the right story in a way that inspires action. What we're going to talk about in our master classes, we're going to begin to introduce you to the framework that we use and our clients use to structure their story, so they can tell a story that inspires people to action. So if that's you, you want to be in the room.
So, okay, all right. And so, like we said, we're definitely looking forward, super excited for the Unleash the Power of Your Story Masterclass happening Thursday, June the 16th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't snooze as you lose, and we'll see you then. And oh, don't forget, we'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another fireside chat. All right, everyone, take care. Bye bye.
Take care, everyone.